A number of years ago, a CEO hired me to help him understand why his team had gone quiet. He said they were good people, smart and committed, but something was off. Within a few days, I had a picture of what it was. When people brought him problems, he listened and then immediately found the bright side. A missed deadline became a lesson learned. A disengaged colleague became someone going through a hard time. A pattern of poor decisions became evidence that the team needed more support. He wasn't dismissing people. He generally believed what he said. But over time, the team had stopped bringing him anything that might be difficult because they knew how it would land. I told him what I was seeing. He listened carefully. Then he said, "I think you're right. I could ask more questions. But honestly, I feel good about where we're headed. The team is resilient. We've been through harder times than this." And he wasn't really wrong. The team was resilient. He was genuinely optimistic. But none of that was the point. The point was that he'd built a culture where bad news arrived late and soft. By the time problems became undeniable, they were always harder to fix than they needed to be. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Broom. Welcome to a Leadership and Self-Mastery video. I've worked with a lot of leaders who think this way. They're not foolish. They're not in denial. They just believe somewhere deep down that staying positive is the same thing as being a good leader. It isn't. Positive thinking has a good reputation, and in some ways it deserves it. Most of us do better when we're not constantly feeding despair. We do better when we remember that one bad moment isn't the whole story. We do better when we can imagine another possibility before the evidence is fully in. That kind of positive thinking is useful. But there's another kind, and that kind can get us into trouble. It says, don't be negative. Look on the bright side. Everything happens for a reason. Just keep your energy high and don't focus on what's wrong. That may sound encouraging, but sometimes it isn't encouragement. Sometimes it's avoidance, dressed up as wisdom. The truth about positive thinking is this: it helps only when it keeps you in touch with reality. The moment it asks us to deny reality, it stops being helpful. It becomes just another way to hide. When someone is struggling and we say, just stay positive, what they often hear isn't encouragement. What they hear is that a real conversation is not welcome. They learn to manage appearances instead of telling the truth. And that's not the same as feeling better. Positive thinking becomes dangerous when it makes difficulty feel like failure. Statements like, if you're worried, you're being negative. If you're sad, you're not trying hard enough. If you're afraid, you're attracting the wrong outcome. And if you name the problem, you're somehow or another creating it. That isn't wisdom, that's pressure. And it can become cruel even when people mean well, because life gives us real difficulties. People get sick, businesses fail, relationships disappoint us, plans collapse, and smart people can make serious mistakes. In those moments, the task isn't to pretend. The task is to stay present. The better alternative is reality thinking. Reality thinking can hold more than one thing at a time. This hurts, and I can still breathe. I'm disappointed, and I can still learn. This isn't what I wanted, and I can still choose how I show up. I don't control the outcome, and I'm not powerless. That's not naive. That's mature. Imagine someone worried about her job. Her company is making cuts. Meetings have gotten tense. Her manager is less available. She can sense that something is changing. The positive thinking response could be, "I'm sure everything will be fine. I shouldn't worry. I'll just keep my thoughts positive." That gives her temporary relief, but it keeps her passive. She doesn't update her resume. She doesn't ask the right questions. She doesn't reach out to her network. She doesn't prepare. She isn't being positive. She's trying not to feel afraid. And those are very different things. The reality-based response sounds more like, "I don't know what's going to happen. I hope my job is safe. But there are enough signals here that I need to prepare. I can stay calm without staying blind." That's stronger. It holds concern and possibility together. It doesn't collapse into panic, but it also doesn't hide inside optimism. It's not despair. It's not denial. It is contact with reality. I've seen this dynamic cause serious damage in organizations. The CEO I had worked with thought that he had built what he considered a positive culture, and on the surface it was. Meetings were energetic. People seemed engaged. There was real warmth in the room. But the team had learned never to bring him problems directly. They'd soften bad news. They'd delay concerns and frame things optimistically even when the situation called for alarm. They'd learned that difficulty made him uncomfortable and anxious, and that he had a way of reframing their concerns as negativity. By the time a significant operational failure became impossible to ignore, the team had seen it coming for months. And when I asked why no one had raised it earlier, the answer was consistent. We knew how he'd take it. That is the real cost. A good culture on the surface, but an avoidant one underneath. A missed deadline isn't negativity. A burned out team isn't negativity. A customer complaint, a broken agreement, a financial problem. Those are just data. And when leaders confuse difficult data with a negative attitude, they lose access to exactly the intelligence they need most. Mature leaders don't ask people to be positive first. They ask people to be honest first. Not brutal, not cynical, but honest. I want to name something directly here because I don't hear it said often enough. When positivity becomes a rule, when it functions as a way of managing what can be felt, what can be named, what can be faced, it is no longer a way of thinking. It has become a way of controlling people. It says, "Don't bring that here. Don't bring that trouble. Don't trouble the room that way. Don't be one of those people who focuses on what's wrong." And this kind of control is usually invisible to the person exercising it. The leader who can't hear bad news doesn't think of himself as controlling. He thinks of himself as optimistic. But the effect is the same. What we cannot face, we cannot change. I've seen this operate in organizations, in families, and in relationships between people who genuinely love each other. The surface stays pleasant. The difficult thing stays buried. People become lonelier because they're pretending rather than connecting. The relief that comes from pretending is real, but there's a deeper relief that comes from telling the truth. Not because the facts get easier, but because you're finally dealing with what's real. And most of us know the difference in our bodies. Pretending feels tight. Truth isn't always pleasant, but it helps our bodies exhale. Here's a distinction worth holding on to. Negativity is when we turn difficulty into a permanent conclusion. This will never work. Nothing ever changes. There's no point. Honesty sounds quite different. This isn't working yet. We've been avoiding the harder issue. We need to decide what we're actually willing to do. Honesty leaves room for action. Negative often closes action down. False positivity denies the problem. Negativity becomes the problem. Honesty names the problem, so we can work with it. And that's where growth becomes possible. So yes, think positively when it helps you stay open. Think positively when it helps you remember your strength. Think positively when it helps you keep moving without collapsing into fear. But don't use it to lie to yourself. Don't use it to silence your pain. Don't use it to make other people's truths more convenient for you. The strongest people I know are not the ones who pretend everything is fine. They're the ones who can say, this is not fine, and I'm still here, and I still have choices, and I'll take the next honest step. That's the kind of thinking that actually gets us somewhere. Not positive thinking, not negative thinking. Clear thinking, grounded thinking, reality thinking. Before we close this out, I want to leave you with one question. Think of a situation in your life where you may be using positivity to stay comfortable rather than to stay open. Not a place where it's helping you stay steady, we all need that, but a place where it may be helping you avoid something. And ask yourself, what fact am I not letting myself really see? What feeling am I trying not to have? What conversation am I postponing? What is the next honest step that would make me stronger, even if it doesn't make me feel better right away? Those aren't negative questions, they're freeing ones. And that's where good thinking begins. If this video struck a chord with you, please share it with somebody who might find it useful too. And of course, please like and subscribe. See you next time.